Good day, everyone. My name is Sharoo, and welcome to part 2 of our paradox between blind spots and vision. So, last week we talked about the importance of vision. And so, did you ask from God what His vision is for you? Remember, don't be afraid. Just learn to trust that when God gives you a vision, this will definitely bring you closer to Him and you will experience happiness like never before. Today, we will find the balance between vision and blind spots, the balance of being able to see and not to see. Another beautiful paradox po. So, what is a blind spot? The physiological definition of a blind spot is that at the back of our eye is what you call the retina. And your retina is made up of light-sensitive cells that send messages to your brain about what you see. Everyone has a spot in the retina that does not have any light-sensitive cells. So this part of your retina cannot see and cannot send signals to your brain. That's the blind spot. Now, when we translate this to life, our blind spot can be our weakness, a mistake, an error, perhaps a lack of perception, an oversight, an obstruction, or when a person lacks understanding or judgment. So, looking at these, we notice that a blind spot is something negative. It's disadvantageous, it's not helpful. But today, we can learn that our blind spot is also a good thing, like how our weaknesses can be our strengths. It can be used to our advantage. Friends, when God gives us a vision, He helps us see what we need to see. He gives us direction and clarity. We know where we are going. But God also seems to allow us to have a blind spot. Why? Because we are human in this fallen world. We cannot see everything. We cannot know everything about life. And sometimes not knowing everything is good because it can lead us to new insights, new paths and experiences that lead us to better opportunities. Because if we knew everything, then there's no need to learn anything. Blind spots bring creative ways to approach our goals, to go through new processes of fulfilling our dreams. Sometimes we even bypass or skip processes. Sometimes shortcuts are good, like how some inventions were created because of a blind spot. Like the post-it notes, remember? Romy or Michelle invented the post-it notes, or the invention of the penicillin was by accident, or the microwave oven, the x-ray, even chocolate chip cookies. What a beautiful, sumptuous accident. And also, what we're experiencing now, the hybrid church. Who would have thought that this would work, to go online and on-site? Back then, we didn't know any better. We had no clue what to do. All we wanted was to make sure that the people would be able to hear the word of God during the lockdown. And it has helped us so much. We just trusted the timing of God, the perfect timing of God at the pandemic. Imagine at a time of technology. Again, as we were reminded last week, Tim Elmer said, fall in love with a problem. It can be a gift, an opportunity, an open door, an exercise for creativity. When I was locked down in Aklan for 2 years, I didn't know what to do at the heat of it all. How do you become a pastor during the pandemic? All I knew was I had to take care of the people because they were losing their jobs. They also didn't know what to do. Some were getting so bored. So, what did I do? Nagpa-contest po ako. I held a cassava contest and we called it balinghoy, balinghay. So, cassava in Aklanon is balinghoy. And I wanted to raise the love for the cassava, to look at the lowly cassava and make it a beautiful product. So, balinghay. So, balinghoy, balinghay. So, I didn't know how to hold a contest. So, there were no categories. We were just open to whatever exploration and experimentation. All I knew was that I just wanted to have this goal to make them entrepreneurs so that they could start their own business and earn their own money. And the only category was it should be a dessert. So, what happened was, panalo po silang lahat. They all won. How do you choose a winner? Everything tasted so good. I was just amazed by them. I was so wonderfully surprised. And things didn't go as expected. Some of them are not yet entrepreneurs, but God taught us something so much deeper than profits and salaries. How did this all happen? Months before the pandemic po, I bought some soft, sumptuous, chewy cookies for a group of friends in Aklan, and I made them taste it. And then while it was a gift to them actually, but someone was passing by selling cassava dessert or cassava merienda. So I also bought it and then gave it to them. And then I just made them choose. So which do you like better, the cookies or the cassava? And all of them said, the cookies. So it somehow disturbed me. And disturbance is good. So when I remembered this again, that's how the Balinghoy Balinghay came to be. Because after the contest, some of them were weeping and repenting and grateful because they looked down. They themselves looked down on the lowly cassava because they got fed up with it. It was their food when they were young. It's actually the food of those who cannot afford much. And so they got fed up with it. They don't want to do anything with it anymore. They slowly rose in life little by little. And so it was no longer important to them. But now, because of the Balinghoy Balinghay, they learned to fall in love with the lowly cassava. They invented, my goodness, you can see the pictures being shown now, a chocolate cassava cake, all these desserts. I wish you could taste them. Come to Aklan, come to Pinnacle Village Aklan, and you will believe. I'll make you believe that it's really so good. So again, things didn't turn out as planned, but God taught us something deeper. And it is only, like Jude King says, the situation of I'm not sure what to do can sometimes be a good place to be. So here are some benefits of blind spots. A blind spot can save us from the curse of knowing too much. Let's look at the true story of Jesus and the 5 loaves and 2 fish. Some of us have heard this story over and over again, but let's look at it this time from the perspective of the beauty of having a blind spot. John chapter 6, Jesus soon saw a huge crowd of people coming to look for him. Turning to Philip, he asked, "Where can we buy bread to feed all these people?" He was testing Philip, for he already knew what he was going to do. Philip replied, "Even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them." There is such a thing as the curse of knowledge. or the curse of expertise. When you think you know it all, and knowing it all can cause what the business world today calls paralysis of analysis. Tim Elmer says, knowledge, experience, and information are a blessing and a curse. They offer all kinds of guidance, but they also burden people with all kinds of boundaries and confinements. We get caught up on all we know, and fearing a failure to capitalize on our knowledge, we can miss an opportunity right in front of us. Just like Philip, who, because he knew too much, he experienced too much, so all he saw was his expertise. Even if we worked for months, we wouldn't have enough money to feed them. Verse 8, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. There's a young boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Friends, notice how for some children, anything is possible. There's your blind spot right there. This child doesn't know much about working for months to get salary. He doesn't know much about expenses to feed the crowd. He doesn't know about ratio and proportion. 5 loaves for 5,000 people. He doesn't know much about computing, calculating, measuring. He has no fear. Let's just say he was curious. What would Jesus do? All the boy knows is that he has 5 loaves and 2 fish. All the boy sees is Jesus is there. Verse 9, what good is that with this huge crowd? Andrew says, there's your curse of knowledge again. Andrew already saw the boy with little food, but he missed the opportunity in front of him. Same with Philip, the paralysis of analysis, the curse of knowing too much. Para kang si Tatalino. Kilala niyo po ba si Tatalino? Masyado kang maraming alam. Alam mo lahat. No one likes hanging out with a know-it-all. You've seen too much. You've experienced too much. You're thinking too much. Notice how some people stop living and seeing the beauty of life because they know too much already. And the more you know, the more you're afraid. You develop fears. You have the fear of trying, the fear of looking stupid, the fear of rejection, the fear of things not being perfect. We're so scared to make mistakes. We're so scared to take risks, to try something we haven't tried before. We're afraid to fail. You haven't even started. You're already thinking about failing. We keep analyzing our pain. It's paralyzing us and blocking our view. We're afraid to let go and trust again. Friends, we can be too intelligent for our own good. We keep calculating, computing, analyzing. We keep having excuses. Oh, it has never been done before, so it can't be done. This is how it has always been done, so don't change how things have always been done. That's why sometimes we cannot see what God wants to show us. Because we've become such experts, it gets in the way of adventure and wonder, and so we stop growing. We start getting old and we stop living. Friends, it's okay to not know everything. Maybe sometimes it's even better to not know everything than to be too intelligent, so that we allow God to become the expert. 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, now all that I know is hazy and blurred, but then I will see everything clearly, just as clearly as God sees into my heart right now. Here comes the real expert. Verse 10, tell everyone to sit down, Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. After everyone was full, Jesus told his disciples, "Now gather the leftovers so that nothing is wasted." So they picked up the pieces and filled 12 baskets with scraps left by the people who had eaten from the 5 barley loaves. Here's the difference between what Jesus saw, what the disciples saw, and what the boy saw. Jesus saw the hungry crowd who needed to be fed, who needed to see who the real expert was. The disciples saw the problem, the impossibility, the hassle, the inconvenience, because they knew too much. If only they learned to fall in love with the problem. If only they learned to have faith like the boy. If only they let Jesus be Jesus, the expert of it all. The boy saw Jesus. That's it. He was filled with curiosity and he saw Jesus. Jesus said, "Have faith like a little child." Kids do not know much about obstacles and barriers. Kids just want to do and want to be. I want to be Superman, so I'm gonna jump from this sledge. And no need to calculate the risks. They don't know if they're gonna get hurt. I'm not saying not to count the cost, not to count the risks, because Jesus said, "Count the cost." It's just that we have to learn from children how great their imagination is. We have to learn from children how great their imagination is. How children always have space for mystery and wonder. Jan Gerard said, "The expert is stuck in being an expert for the rest of his life until he decides to become an amateur again." Friends, may we always develop our faith like a child. Don't be the expert. Let God be the expert. Blind spots also teach us it's okay to be clueless. It's okay to not know everything. It's okay if things are not perfect. It's okay if we fail. And because we don't know everything, we don't see what's impossible. We don't see what's scary, what's intimidating, what's risky, what can go wrong or what can go right. We don't see obstacles. We don't see the difficulties and challenges. We don't see what's up ahead. We stop calculating and weighing things. We stop doubting and wondering if this will work or if this will fail. We don't think too much. We just do. Just like the boy who gave his food. He just did. He was clueless and curious. Tim Elmore shares on rookie smarts. What is a rookie smart? A rookie smart describes the effective ideas that new or young people come up with and attempt that seasoned veterans would never try. Why wouldn't the veterans try? Because of their experience. You may not be shocked to learn that the majority of today's emerging youth population see themselves as entrepreneurs. 72% of high school students claim they plan to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes their lack of experience is what makes them successful. Rookie smarts likely come from rookie ignorance. Sometimes we benefit from not knowing any better. Henry Ford, as he was inventing the car, "Go find me a 19-year-old who doesn't know it can't go faster." And Sarah Blakely, the inventor of Spanx, said, "Don't be intimidated by what you don't know. That can be your greatest strength, and ensure that you do things differently from everyone else." I'd like to share also about Sahar Hashemi, who founded Coffee Republic of the UK. She wrote the books Anyone Can Do It and Startup Forever, How to Build a Startup Culture in a Big Company. She was featured on TED Talks entitled The Importance of Being Clueless. She was a corporate lawyer living a boring life. She visited her brother in Wall Street, New York, and She just bought some coffee and she just blurted out, "I wish there was coffee as good as this in the UK." And her brother, Bobby, took it seriously and said, "Let's do it," because he was also tired of Wall Street. So Sahar panicked and said, "But I need an MBA." And her brother said, "Don't worry about not knowing anything about coffee because you're about to jump in the best business school in the world, the school of life." So they went to the UK, talked to some coffee experts in the UK, and everyone told them it cannot be done because the UK is a tea drinking country. It failed here. Why do you think it's gonna work? But Sahar says this: the fact that we were clueless and outsiders was our biggest advantage because our mind was uncontaminated, and that's often the only way to innovate. Because if you know too much about, oh, this is how we do things, you can't really see new ways. Your mind is too blocked about finding a new way of doing things, and you end up getting anchored in the status quo. I realized that our naivete was our advantage. Our minds were completely open. The less resources you have, the more resourceful you get. Because I'm an entrepreneur, she says, I've given myself the license to ask stupid questions. Give yourself a new title. I love this. She says, Chief Stupid Question Asker. That's what she calls herself. Tanong lang po ng tanong. O tanong, ano pong tawag sa chismosa na Christian? Yung ang daming tanong, daming gustong malaman sa church. Tawag po doon, Good Samarites. Yan, joke time lang po. Okay, so Sahar, wag po tayo maging marites. So Sahar says, doubts, delete it. Again, delete your doubts. It's not the voice of reason. It's the voice of fear. Fear is a zero-sum game. Never worry about not knowing. Never worry about not having the expertise. Not knowing is good because you can teach yourself, and you can teach yourself with fresh information. Henry Ford said, I'm looking for a lot of men with an infinite capacity for not knowing what can't be done. Maybe some of us were clueless about how to do a particular project or job. Maybe how to start a business, how to be a parent, a wife, a husband, how to be a mentor, a huddle guide, how to do church. It's the perfect opportunity to be humble, to be teachable, to say, I don't know it all, but I will find a way. Having a blind spot is the perfect opportunity for exploration, experimentation, discovery. It's perfect for leveling up, for being stretched, having a larger perspective, for curiosity and deep listening. Listening to the voice of truth, the voice of God. Maimonides said, teach thy tongue to say, I don't know, and thou shalt progress. And lastly, blind spots leave space for faith, mystery, and wonder. It's important to know things, to do your homework, to read, to study, to research. But it's also okay to not know everything so that there is space for growth and creativity, for excitement and freshness. Not seeing everything is good because it is sometimes when we cannot see that we can truly see, because we learn to see beyond what our eyes can see. It leaves a beautiful space for faith, just like what the boy experienced. Hebrews 11:1, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Like for me, when I prepare for preaching messages, I get insecure because I feel there's not enough time to study, to prepare. There's still so much more to read and to discover. The editing is nonstop, the discoveries are nonstop. I feel that my study and preparation are not enough. But I have to let go and admit that I cannot do everything. And this allows me to leave room for the Holy Spirit to take over, to be the expert, to complete the work. And it's a very humbling experience po. Ever since I became a pastor, and especially since I was assigned in PV South, my prayer has always been, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Even before I was a pastor, I don't know what to do, Lord. There was nothing else I could say to the Lord except I don't know what to do. Non-stop, repeatedly. I'm filled with so many blind spots. So I've learned to ask for help from God and from others non-stop. And God has always been so gracious and faithful in seeing me through. Not knowing leaves room for God to be the expert, to do His thing. 2 Corinthians 5:7, for we walk by faith, not by sight. My favorite thing about blind spots, it teaches us to support each other. Because I have a blind spot, you can support me. And because you have a blind spot, I can support you. While one cannot see, others can see for us. We help each other, we support each other. We're a tag team. I'm so grateful to our pastors at Pinnacle Village because it's a very beautiful tag team. Remember, friends, all of us will always need each other, no matter how different we are. That's why let's be kind to everyone. This topic of blind spot was a major blind spot for me. I didn't know what to do. There are so many books about vision, but none on this particular definition of the blind spot. Everything was the negative definition of the blind spot, but Tim Elmer's definition was just too fresh and too new, too innovative, too wonderful. So what I did was, of course, begged God. And because it's a blind spot, I researched on blind people because of my blind spot. So as I'm looking for ways to practically help apply life lessons, I'm also always doing my best to look for inspiring stories of Filipinos to help inspire other Filipinos. So, I researched inspiring blind Filipinos because blind people in the Philippines are either beggars or singers, musicians, or massage therapists. And I found one inspiring Filipino who happens to be blind. His name is Marx Malencho. He was not born blind. His blindness was caused by senseless violence. In 2003, at 23 years old, he and his wife were simply buying fried rice. And one man just shot Marx twice, one in the chest and one in the head. And the shot to his head left him instantly, completely, and permanently blind. And so he got depressed for 1 year. But after that, he knew that he had to pick up the pieces, take care of his young family because he already had a baby. And he finished his schooling. He graduated from the University of the Philippines Bachelor of Science, Mathematics. Tried looking for work, got into employment, but it was very difficult for him because during that time, companies were not yet too friendly for people who were blind. So, he decided to turn his crisis into an opportunity and started his own business called Grayscale. Grayscale Business Consultancy and Marketing Services. Grayscale started without any capital investment other than time, a couple of computers, an internet connection, and a place that also acted as their home with 4 people, including his wife. His first project as a multilingual call center resulted to more than a 300% sales margin growth for his client software company. Friends, ask for God's vision and the rewards will come. So, all this while being one of the first few local companies to provide a telecommuting work platform for skilled Filipinos with mobility difficulties. So, Marx also invented the wearable solar-powered AI device for the blind. It's wearable glasses that can automatically describe the things around a blind person. It can read text on paper documents and physical objects. It can also compute the distances of things and can also provide assistance for complex situations. By the way, he also continued playing the guitar. He can still play the guitar po. So, friends, I tried contacting Marx, hoping for an interview with him, and he allowed me a Zoom interview with him. So let's listen to him and watch this video po. So, Marx, when you started Grayscale, your company, did you know how to do everything at the start? Did you have doubts? What risks did you have to take? And how did it actually work out for you?
Well, the quick answer is no. I'm running a business and I built it with my wife, Cherry, from scratch. And I don't even have an MBA. I don't even know how to build businesses when I started.
Yes.
As for multimedia marketing, I don't have any formal training in digital marketing, not even in content writing. But I started out as a content writer. And also in our multilingual telesales, I don't even have experience in working at the call center industry. But I built teams, multilingual telesales teams, not just here in the Philippines, but in other places abroad as well. And finally, I'm a lead deep learning engineer, but I don't even have an engineering degree.
Okay.
And I don't even have formal training in computer programming and electronics.
Yes.
So at ARIA, the tech company in Sydney, I'm the lead deep learning engineer and computer vision scientist. And as a scientist, I don't even have a PhD.
Okay.
Well, everything I did was a risk, but I believe in luck, laboring under the correct knowledge. So what I did was I extensively researched about these things. Then I painstakingly practiced and learned, failed fast, so I can learn from my mistakes. So that's what I did. And for example, I built a digital marketing business knowing that the internet is a fairly visual place.
Yes.
So if you promote stuff on the internet, you need visuals there. So I didn't expect to be enough to get some sort of success from that. But I did it anyway because it was the opportunity back then in 2005. Imagine 2005, Think of Nokia, think of Friendster,
Yes.
and PayPal. No? Yun lang yung available resources for someone building a digital marketing business here. And back then, the e-commerce industry in the Philippines wasn't even a thing. So what we did was we needed to promote outside the Philippines. So we did that. And we did that from a spare bedroom in our house with a couple of computers and dial-up internet connectivity. And we didn't have any significant fiscal resources. Another thing, I didn't expect to be teaching electronic devices and computers on how to see. Because as a deep learning engineer and as a computer vision scientist, that's what I do. I teach machines how to see the world and convert the visual environment into an audible landscape.
Wow. Okay, so did you experience problems or challenges that you can say made you a better person?
Challenges was our experience in certain industries. Alam mo naman ng business, no? Business is up and down, as well as the industries we focus on. Back then, we just focused on the multi-media marketing industry. And during the 2008 the global financial crisis, that hit us hardest from 2010 to 2013. So we didn't diversify our income streams. So we had problems then, but we managed to pivot. So that's an important aspect of doing business. No? You need to be able to pivot as fast as possible.
Yes.
That way you fail fast and you lose, you minimize your losses. So after the global financial crisis, we expanded to the multilingual telesales industry. And after that, we expanded to artificial intelligence and fourth industrial technologies, revolution technologies. So that's what we do. Well, we always pivot because we didn't start our business with a 5-year capitalization stored in the bank, nothing like that. We started with a spare bedroom. And in 2005, we were operating 100% remote. So that was also my thesis, because that's also the mission of Grayscale, to provide gainful employment and business opportunities for Filipinos with disabilities.
Marx, if you don't mind me asking, the senseless violence that happened to you last 2003, if that scenario happened all over again, would you do anything differently? Or do you wish that that tragedy never happened to you?
Well, it's pretty hard to predict what will happen if it didn't. So I guess I'll just stay with the current circumstances, because I'm happy as it is. And becoming blind gave me the focus that I lacked, and also the multitasking ability that I now have.
Wow. Okay. And any advice that you can give to the next generation who are planning to start up a business?
Well, as always, it's luck, laboring under the correct knowledge. So do your research, test it out. Don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast, because that way you learn from your mistakes. And majority of us learn much better from mistakes rather than from a reward system. At least that's what I think, and that's based from my experience. And finally, I make it a point to integrate and inculcate the scientific process into everything that I do. That way, I'm laboring under the correct knowledge always. So the scientific process is spend more time identifying the real problem, gather as much data as possible, and try to test out your what do you call it, your concepts, your theories and everything before investing in more time and energy into something.
Sir Marx, why is your company called Grayscale?
Well, Grayscale, it's because of our journey from darkness to light. When I became completely blind, I was literally in the dark, but our family was also uh, fearing our future. Well, we were very what do you call this? Very worried of our future because we didn't know what to expect. So our journey from darkness to light, because when you thread from the color spectrum, no, from black to white, the middle spectrum is grayscale. So that's where what we're threading now. We are threading a journey from darkness to light.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. What a wonderful Filipino po. Someone we can be proud of. So for me, the paradox of having vision and blind spots teaches us that we should be grateful to God that He allows us to see things and that we don't see everything, so that we depend on Him and Him alone and let Him be the expert. Friends, what does God want you to see? No matter how old we are, whatever our status in life, let's continue to have faith and curiosity like a little child. Let's live again with the eyes of a child filled with the beauty of mystery and wonder. Let's flow and be open to what God wants us to truly see, and He will definitely help us po. Hebrews 11:6, it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to Him must believe that God exists and that He rewards those who sincerely seek Him.